Hello friends, you can log on to primeaptacademy.com to access complete free video courses. So this is the data interpretation question from CAT examination held in year 1999. So over here we see the table. It says the table below represents data on percentage population covered by drinking water and sanitation facilities in selected Asian countries. Okay. So the heading of the table is population covered by drinking water and sanitation facilities, percentage coverage. So here I see drinking water and here I see sanitation facility. Okay, basically let me underline sanitation facility in a different color. So this red one is sanitation facility, blue one is drinking water. Now it says, I'll just take one of the case, India, and we'll see what the table means. So 85% of people in urban India get drinking water, 79% people in rural India get drinking water, total is 81% of people are getting drinking water. For sanitation facility, 70% of India in urban sectors get sanitation facility, 14% in rural and 29% of the total population of India. This is the data, the source is World Resources 1998-99, page 251, UNDP, UNEP and World Bank. This is the source of the data. Okay, and this came in the 1999 CAT exam. All right. Further, so based similarly for all other countries, it has been mentioned like Bangladesh, China, Pakistan, Philippines, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. So that is the data that is provided. It says country A is said to dominate B, or A greater than B, if A has higher percentage in total coverage for both drinking water and sanitation facility. Okay, and B is said to be dominated by A or B is less than A. All right. So what this means is if A is dominating B, in that case A will have the total drinking water percentage more than that of B as well as total sanitation percentage more than that of B. Both of them has to be more. Only then we will say A is dominating B. Now further it says a country is said to be on the coverage frontier if no other country dominates it. Alright. Similarly, a country is not on the coverage frontier if it is dominated by at least one other country. So country which is not dominated by any other country is said to be on the coverage frontier, and country which is not on the coverage frontier means it can be dominated by one or more than one countries. Alright, so that is the data. Now we look at the question. First change the color of the pen. Alright, so now the question says which countries are on the coverage frontier? We'll go one by one. India and China it says. So India, if the total drinking is 81, Bangladesh has more total drinking than India. So India cannot be on the coverage frontier. Because for it to be on the coverage frontier, it has to be either highest on the drinking or highest on the sanitation facility. If a country is highest on drinking only, in that case also it will be on the coverage frontier, because then it cannot be dominated by any other country. For a country to be dominated by the other country, that country should have both the drinking water and sanitation facility less than the other country. Okay, so in India, if you look at it, India total is 81, Bangladesh is 97 over here, which is greater than India in this case. So we cannot say that India is on the frontier, coverage frontier. So option A is ruled out. Now we look at option B. It says Sri Lanka and Indonesia. We'll just check for Sri Lanka first. Sri Lanka here it is 57. There are many countries which are more than 57 for Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka cannot be on the coverage frontier. So Sri Lanka is ruled out. Then Philippines and Bangladesh. With Philippines it is 86 here. I see more countries like Bangladesh here. But Philippines has 77 as the sanitation facility, which is the highest. So now if you look at it, Philippines cannot be dominated by any country here. Why? Because for another country to dominate Philippines, it has to be both higher than Philippines in drinking water as well as sanitation facilities, which cannot be the case because Philippines has the highest sanitation facility. No other country has more than that. So this is a possibility. Bangladesh then it says. So Bangladesh, if you look at it, 97 is the highest drinking water. So you cannot be more than 97 in terms of drinking water, which Bangladesh has. So you cannot dominate Bangladesh, because even if you have more sanitation facilities, country might have more sanitation facilities than Bangladesh. Let's say for example Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has 63 as the total and Bangladesh has 48. But it cannot dominate Bangladesh because its drinking water is less than Bangladesh. Okay, for a country to dominate other country, it should have both drinking and sanitation facility higher than that. Okay, so Bangladesh also cannot be dominated. So Philippines cannot be dominated, Bangladesh cannot be dominated. So answer option C is the correct answer. We don't even check for D. So answer option C is the right answer for this question. We'll look at the next question of the set then. So this question says, which of the following statements are true? India is greater than Pakistan and India greater than Indonesia. Means India dominates Pakistan and India dominates Indonesia. We'll see. So now India over here, 81 is here, and in Pakistan it is 74 for drinking water. So India is above Pakistan in drinking water. But if I look at the sanitation numbers, India is 29 and Pakistan is 47. So India is not dominating Pakistan here. Okay. Neither Pakistan dominates India because its drinking water is less than that of India. Okay. So India dominates Pakistan is not correct from the data. So it can't be true. Then India dominates China and India dominates Nepal, it says. Let's see. So 81 is India here, 67 is China. So yes, India dominates, India is greater than China here. And also on the sanitation front, 29 and 24. So this, just rub this off. So India over here is 81 and China is 67. So India's drinking is more than China. Similarly, India sanitation is 29 and that of China is 24. So that means both the drinking water and sanitation facility of India is greater than China. So India dominates China. Then it was India and Nepal. India is 81 in drinking, Nepal is 63. Again, India has more than Nepal. In terms of sanitation, 29 and 1, India has more than Nepal. So India dominates both China and Nepal, which is the correct answer. So, okay, so there are other options to see. So this is true for sure. The first one is false. This is a true false scenario. So first one we figured out to be false. Option B is true. Option C says Sri Lanka dominates China. Now if you look at Sri Lanka is 57 here and China is 67. So it can't be true. Okay, so it can't be true. So it is false. Finally, China dominates Nepal. So China is 67, Nepal is 63. So drinking water wise, China is above Nepal. Also on the sanitation, China is above Nepal, which is 24 and 1. So China dominates Nepal. That is true. So this is true. So B and D are true, which is answer option B. Answer option B says B and D. That's the correct answer. Okay. We'll look at the next question now. So the next question says, using only the data presented under the sanitation facilities column. So what I'll do is rub everything off. Only under the sanitation facility. So only the sanitation facility part of the data is to be taken. So only this much data will take. What do I have to do? It can be concluded that rural population in India as a percentage of its total population is approximately how much? Okay. So if I just consider this part, we'll see rural population is approximately how much percent of the total population. So let rural population be P% of the total population. Okay. Or in terms of, rather than in terms of P, we'll just write it as, P in terms of decimal points. Okay. So P%, if you do, that will be incorrect. So if the weightage, rather than that, we'll give the weightage. So the rural India get a weightage of W. So urban India will get the weightage 1 minus W. Okay, because rural plus urban should add up to 1. So rural India gets a weightage of W, urban gets a weightage of 1 minus W. Now it says, if I just look at the sanitation facility, 14% from rural got the sanitation. So if I calculated the weighted average over here, that should come out to 29, the weighted average. And what is the weighted average? It is 14 into W plus 70 into 1 minus W. Okay, 14 times W, which is weightage of the rural part, plus 70 into 1 minus W, which is the weightage of the urban part. That should add up and give me 29. That's the weighted average, because 29 over here is the weighted average of both urban and rural. Now this will become, if I solve this, this is 14W plus 70 minus 70W is equal to 29. So over here this will become 14 minus, this is minus 56W, that is equal to minus 41. Okay, there is 60, 14, yeah, minus 56W is minus 41, this goes away. So W, which is the weightage of the rural part, which we have to find out, is 41 by 56. So weightage is 41 by 56. So in terms of percentage, we have to calculate W weightage is 41 by 56. So in terms of percentage, it will be 41 upon 56 into 100. So if I do that, it's 41, 56, 410. If I do 56 into 7, it has to start from 7. 3 options are 7s, that's why I'm checking. 7 6 are 42, 2 here, 4 here. 7 5s are 35 and 4 39. 392, so minus 392. So then it is 18, so 180. Then if you do, so 0.7, 180 is 56 into 3, it can't be more than that. So 56 into 3 if I do, 3 6 are 18, 1 here, 5 3s are 15, 116, 168. So 0.73 something. Okay, so 0.73 into 100 is almost equal to 73%. So answer option C, 73 is the right answer. So we'll look at the next question now. So this says, again, only using the data presented under the sanitation facilities column. Okay, sequence China, Indonesia and Philippines in ascending order of rural population as a percentage of their respective total population. Okay, the correct order is which of the following? So the countries are Philippines, Indonesia and China, and we are looking at rural population. Okay, so now this question, again we have to deal with the sanitation facility. So I will just do the sanitation facility, and we have to figure out the order of ascendancy for China, Philippines and Indonesia in terms of rural population. So now I will encircle the numbers that I want to deal with. So these are the China numbers. Okay, for Philippines, let me change the color. For Philippines, this is 88, 66, 77. Okay, and let me use the green color for Indonesia. 73, 40 and 51. So now, even without calculating, we could have used the method we used in the previous question to calculate the weightage of the rural for each of them separately and then find the ascending order. But if you look at the data can help us figure out where more rural is. If you look at Philippines, for example, this is 88, 66 and 77. So it means that half the population of Philippines is living in rural and half in urban, because 77 is exactly midpoint of 88 and 66. Okay, I'm just looking at the Philippines, which is in red over here. So 77 is exactly in between 88 and 66. So in Philippines, we know the percentage is exactly 50%. All right. So for Philippines in red, I'll write. So even without calculating, I can find that this is 50% rural, 50% urban. I'm just writing the rural percentage. Here it is 73 here and 40 here, and it is 51 here for Indonesia. Now if you look at it for Indonesia, this 51 is closer to 40 in comparison to 73. So that means it is greater than 50% for Indonesia. Okay, so for Indonesia, it is greater than 50%. Similarly for China, it 7 and 24, it is 24 over here, which is the total percentage, is closer to 7, the rural part, in comparison to 74. So that means for China also, this is greater than 50%. So what we know for sure that Philippines has to have the lowest amount of rural population. So I have to start with Philippines because I have to arrange them in ascending order. So P is Philippines here. Now I know that for both China and Indonesia, it is greater than 50%, the rural population, but for which it is higher. If you look at the situation here, 40 and 51 and 73 and 51, if you compare, this 51 this is for Indonesia. But if you look at China, 7 and 24 and 24 and 74. So the total population is far, far away from the urban in comparison to Indonesia. Indonesia, still the total population is 51% and the urban is 73%. But in China, the urban is 74%, but the total is way below, which is 24% if you compare it with Indonesia. So that means for most of the people over here in China, in comparison to Indonesia, are living in the rural part. Okay, because if you look at it, their urban population in terms of percentage is almost the same, but their total population in terms of percentage, China has more towards the rural in comparison to the urban one. So the total population having sanitation is much less in China. So more of the people have to be residing in China rural. Okay. So with this logic, if you look at it, we don't even need to calculate it. If you understand this logic, then you could directly find the answer that Indonesia has more rural than, China has more rural than Indonesia. Okay, so the second one has Indonesia and finally the third China. I'll again explain the Indonesia and China thing here. This 51% total sanitation, if you look at it, this is in between 40 and 73, closer to 40 in comparison to 73. That is why it is greater than 50. Similarly, in the case of China, this 24% is in between 7 and 74, closer to 7 than 74. That is why it is greater than 50%, the rural population. But in case of China and Indonesia, if I make the comparison, the weightage of people living in this rural has to be very high. Why? Because this 24 is very further apart from 74. If I compare it with Indonesia, where 51 and 73 are not that far away. Okay, so by that reason, the weightage in the rural has to be greater for China. All right, so this is the order we get: Philippines, Indonesia and China, the ascending order. So if I see the answer options, Philippines, Indonesia, China, answer option A is correct here. All right, we'll look at the next question then now. This says India is not on the coverage frontier because. So now, if you look at it, India is not on the coverage frontier because, first of all, the drinking water, India's 81 is less than that of Bangladesh as well as Philippines. So India's drinking water India is less than Bangladesh and Philippines, these things. And for the sanitation part of it, let me rub this off. It's from the previous question. So on the sanitation part, India's sanitation 29 is less than that of Bangladesh as well as Pakistan, Philippines, Indonesia and Sri Lanka. So that's the reason India is not on the coverage frontier, or at least it has to be for one of them. Either India's drinking water has to be greater than Bangladesh and Philippines both, or it has to be greater than sanitation facility greater than all these countries. Okay, at least one of the case. So it is lower than Bangladesh in terms of not only Bangladesh, it was Philippines also. It is lower than Sri Lanka in terms of sanitation facilities. There are many other countries. So B, C ruled out. It is dominated by Indonesia is incorrect. So all these options are partially correct, not completely correct. And if I combine A and B, no, it doesn't make, because it is lower than Bangladesh in terms of drinking water. Had the option said lower than Philippines in terms of drinking water as well, then it could have been the answer. Because for drinking water, it has to just beat these Bangladesh and Philippines. Okay, but over here it just says Bangladesh as one. So that is why it doesn't make answer. Answer A and C is also incorrect. D is completely incorrect. So answer option D, none of these is the correct answer here. All right, we'll look at the next question now. Now this question says, answer the question based on the following information. These relate to the above table with additional provision that the gap between the population coverages of sanitation facility and drinking water facilities is a measure of disparity. Okay, so the gap between sanitation facility, it says gap, so I'll just take the absolute value of drinking water and sanitation facility. It is called as the disparity. Okay, disparity is absolute value of drinking water minus sanitation facility. The country with the most disparity in coverage of rural sector. Coverage of rural sector. So what all options do I have? India, Bangladesh, Nepal, none of these is also there. So it says so in drinking water, India's rural is 79 and sanitation is 14. So gap is what? 79 minus 14 is 65. So let me write the gap here. Bangladesh, it is 96 and 44. So it will not beat India because that will not be more than 65. China is 56 and 7, again can't beat India, 65. 69 minus 22, again it is not greater than 65. 80 and 66, again incorrect. 54 minus 40 is 14, again incorrect, not greater than 65. 52 and 62 is actually negative. 60 and 12, the gap is again not. Even 52 and 62, the absolute value gap is 10. And 50 and 60 and 12 is 48. So India has the highest gap in the rural part of it. So the disparity is highest in the rural part in India. So answer option A, India is correct here. Now the last question of the set says the country with the least disparity in coverage of urban sector. In coverage of urban sector. So now we will look at the urban sector least disparity. So if I quickly scan the urban sector 85 and 70, it is 15 here. 99 and 79, it is 20. So India is lower here. 97 and 74, it will be more than 15. So 82 and 77 is 5. So Pakistan is the lowest till now. 92 and 88 is 4. Philippines is the lowest. 79 and 73 is 6. 88 and 68 is 20. 88 and 58 is 30. So Philippines 4 is the lowest in the urban part, 92 and 88. So disparity is lowest in Philippines urban. So that means Philippines over here is the right answer. Okay, so that is all about this set.